For those of you just tuning in, this is a continuation of our last video. I'm going to leave a card over here so you can go check that out first. But yeah, let's carry on back into the topic.
Okay, so we went into quite a scientific point on this deterministic free will perspective. Science kind of shows that it is almost inevitably a deterministic viewpoint. Mm-hmm. However, like if we look at it more psychological and philosophical point of perspective, free will, denial of free will removes the responsibility from the agent. If you claim that,
I'll just interject that, and they all say not necessarily. I don't believe that it removes your personal responsibility. But carry on with your thoughts.
So the reason I say that is because if you fervently believe that free will is non-existent, that you do not really have a choice in the matter, and what will be, whether that being is something good or that being is something bad, it removes from you your agency, your responsibility to actually act morally and appropriately, because you can go further past this point and say, oh, if I don't have free will, I'm just going to get what I get, and I shouldn't even try anything. So if we had to take it from this psychological / philosophical perspective about how our agency or our responsibility is removed because we do not believe in free will, what we are essentially saying is like the equation is set up and the answers are gotten. But if we believe that free will is the case, we can now add variables onto our equation. So it's not like the equation is completely different and you're going to achieve a completely different result because you have a fundamental ability to change that equation. The equation is set up based on what you have been given in your life, whether you're born in this time with these set of skills, with these tendencies, with these attributes, with these people in your lives, there are so many variables that lead up to where you are right now. And there are the variables that you can choose to add. The equation is adjustable because
wait, let me interrupt you right there, because I think I've got it. Okay, so the thing about it is you've been handed a deck of cards, and that's the cards you've been dealt, right? Now you can play the game of those cards, and you can make the decisions, and you can make the best possible decisions, and what you do with that hand of cards is your own personal responsibility. And now you were talking about bringing in variables to that, but the thing is, there are no other variables. You can't bring any other variables because you don't know of the other variables. They are there; they do exist. But it's
knowledge of the variables.
But it's not in your scope. It's literally not in your scope because you don't know what you don't know. You do not know what you don't know. Nobody knows what they don't know. And this is what we need to understand. So a criminal has his set of cards, and he's making the best possible decisions that he possibly can with that deck of cards, with his understanding. And everyone's understanding is like this. Everyone is limited. And then there's other people that understand that and other people that understand us. But this is the cards that you are dealt. Now, you can't introduce any other variables into that equation because these are the variables that you have to work with. And that so now it depends on the game you play, but the game you're going to play will always be the best possible game that you can play. That's what everyone does. Now you will argue that some people are being lazy. They're not playing the best possible hand that they can, or a game that they can with the hand that they are dealt. But you have to remember that laziness is a variable that is part of who they are. That is already in who they are, which means that despite the fact that they are making the best possible play that they know how to do, the laziness comes into it and is part of it. And they can't help that it's part of it. They try to help that. They try their damnedest to help that it's not part of it, but they can't overcome the fact that you can overcome the fact that you're lazy, but you actually can't. It is part of who you are.
I see. I disagree with you there. I think you can overcome laziness, and you can overcome many adversities in your life through sustained effort. And like you could say, overcoming that is also part of the cards.
But that's only because you have that understanding to overcome it, to pursue that, to try harder, to work harder.
So it inevitably depends on the game that you're defining within yourself to play.
Yeah, but the reason why you're defining, I'm sorry I'm being harsh, Pete.
That's fine.
No offense or anything, I have to. All right. Okay, but the game that no, I lost the train of thoughts. All right. Carry on.
Okay, so I would say that I like your analogy of card game. I think it's too simplistic though. So you're not playing one card game with one deck of cards. You're playing infinitely many card games with infinitely many deck of cards and infinitely many variations of that game, or whatever game. Like we're playing the game of this podcast right now, where we both agreed it's adequate to sit here politely and listen to one another. And I could at any point just get up and go walk away, and like that would be a choice that I make. You know, that is within my free will to do. And it's
but what are the reasons why you decide to do it or not do it?
Well, I could just to be fuck you and like show you that I have free will and that I could do what I choose.
But why don't you do
that? Because I like this game. This game is fun.
Okay. Whose fault is it that you like the game?
That could go to very many different things. It's my fault because those are the games I choose to play, but also because of like the genetics that I have. Like I would say I'm very, very, very much my mother in that she is logical and well-spoken, and she imparted a lot of those things onto me as well. But also I'd say it's partly because of my dad, because my dad is engaging and he enjoys fun. And so again, there are many variables that brought me to the conclusion that I enjoy this game. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'd say you want to win all your games, but you cannot win all your games because sometimes you're set up to lose. And so through free will, you try your utmost to do what you can to play the games and win the games, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think I just discovered a different angle to this, and I think this is the angle that I took that led me to being a determinist. And the angle that I took was to always ask the question why. You know, like those kids they're like, okay, but why? Okay, but why? Because and then eventually you stop and you don't have an answer. But the thing is that there is always an answer. And when we now if we play this game and we actually put that into exercise, then we eventually reach the point. You always reach the point where the why goes beyond the person. With every single little decision.
With every single answer the final why.
Well, no, you can answer the why, but the why goes beyond the scope of the person. Like now, your why led to your parents, which means it shows that knock-on effect again. So yes, I decided to be lazy. Yes, I decided to not do my job. Why? Because I'm depressed. Why am I depressed? Because life is tough. Why is life tough? Because it's not in my control that life is tough. Yes, I decided to rob a bank. Why did you decide to rob a bank? Because screw everybody else. I want to look after myself and I want to be rich. And I want to take the money from him. Why are you like that? Why do you want to take the money from everyone? Well, why not? The whole world is like that, well, according to their perception. And why is their perception like that? Well, their perception is like that because it's out of their locus of control.
So I can acknowledge and understand your reasoning behind this why question, but I think you have kind of resigned to the fact that the answer to the question is outside of your grasp, or that it's predetermined, the answer to the why question.
Well, what else would the answer to the why question be?
Whatever you want it to be.
Just because you're lazy, just because you decide to do so. Why do you decide?
Because it's your decision. Because you choose to make it that way. Because you have the power within yourself to create a future. Okay, so the answers to this why will inevitably be the result, or will result in the future you want to make. So when you ask these quiet questions, you're pretty much setting up the path that you want to take. So why do you rob a bank? Oh, because fuck these people, I want money, or something like that. So you're setting up within that framework an opposing enemy, or like someone that you disagree with, and then you're setting up an objective to only be self-gratifying. Where
but hang on. I'm not setting up an opposing enemy. I believe that there is an opposing enemy. I didn't decide that I want to believe that there's an opposing enemy. I just do. I believe that the world is against me, or that's how the world works.
Is that what you personally believe?
No. But as an example, as a person,
is that an example?
As an example, as a person who would do such a thing, the world is against me. I just believe that. People don't choose to believe that the world is against them. They just do.
No, I think people make the choice to believe that.
Why would you choose to believe that the world is against you?
Because it's easy to be a victim. It's easy to be a victim and to tell people that life is hard and to struggle and to live a futile life and then just die.
And who says that they aren't victims? Who says that they aren't victims of a broken society?
So there are victims and oppressors. There are no victim and oppressors. There are people who are victims and oppressed at the same time. There are no good or bad people. There are people with both the capacity for good and bad within themselves. You, on the day, in the moment, have a choice to be a victim or an oppressor. Or you can change your narrative and say, fuck that. I don't want to live in a society where there are victims and oppressors. I want to live in a society where I view everyone equal. And do you not think by changing your view that the society would reflect that? Or would society continue to be victim versus oppressor narrative, regardless of what you believe?
Society is what it is. It's an objective truth. And
society is a collection of unspoken agreements among people.
Well, it's an unspoken agreement among people that I didn't agree to.
So again, going back to this game of the podcast, like we both didn't say shit about what we wanted from this game. We kind of were like, let's play a game, and we assumed the rules. It's the same thing with society. A society has some groundwork for the rules, like we did for this podcast. We laid out an idea of what we wanted, but we never enforced strictly what it is. We as individuals have imposed on it what it can be. That's why I enjoy this very much, because I have made the decision to find this enjoyable. But you can also make the decision to find this unenjoyable. And then does that objectively make it unenjoyable, or have you subjectively made it unenjoyable?
There's a difference between preference and objective truth. So
yes, for sure.
Yeah, so you can say that eating snails is you can't define if it's enjoyable or not. Well, it's subjective. Some people enjoy eating snails, and some people don't enjoy eating snails. But the objective truth is that it's a dead snail that you're eating.
That is the objective truth, but your subjective nature or your subjective opinion on the matter will determine for you whether eating snails is enjoyable. And that's why the framework, when you come into a conversation like this, is so important, because if you come in with a framework that is, if you come in with the wrong framework, it's going to set up the discussion incorrectly. In the case of free will, like, you have the power within yourself to choose how this conversation will go. And through that conversation, through that debate, you can inevitably, no, not inevitably, I use that word far too often, but you can decide for yourself where, how, why, when, like all these questions you ask for yourself. And therefore you get the answer for the questions you are asking. If you ask the questions in an inappropriate manner, you're going to get an inappropriate answer. And through that, if you do not agree with your answers, your structure is going to be set up wonky. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be a solid foundation for your understanding. I hope a lot of this is making sense. It sounds like it's making sense in my mind, but I could be talking absolute gibberish.
Yeah.
So
each time I just feel like we're reaching the point where we need to call this conversation. I think enough has been said on both parts. It's a shame that we didn't 100% find each other on this one, but I believe we understand each other.
No, I think this was the kind of discussion where I think we firmly believe each of our own opinions, and neither of us were going to change it, but that's besides the point. It's more the discussion that's important.
See, and what I try to, or would like to bring into the world with these discussions is to change people's minds, to provoke that change. But this is, I know that like this is one of the most difficult topics. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
This is the cherry on top of the cheesecake.
Yeah, it really is. But you've presented your case brilliantly. You've done really well. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for taking the time to do this. It's well done. It's been really good.
Thank you so much for having me, dude. It's been really enjoyable having the discussion with you. And if ever you want me back on, please don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to do it again.
No, I think I'd love to have you back on with even other topics. So let's think about some other topics that we can do, and I'd love to do it. Even this topic, if you've given it some thought to, and at some point you want to discuss it again, we can do that.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, thank you once again. Look forward to seeing you in the future, dude.